we do want to chat, Aisling, about that evening that this game is going to take place, because the scramble for tickets is obviously going to be pretty incredible over the course of the next week. But at least you're going to get two for the price of one. You're going to get Dublin versus Mayo in the women's football as well. So this is going to be a cracking night, because those two teams have obviously been in and around the All-Ireland challengers for the last few years. Dublin have been the All-Ireland winners for the last few years. So it's a brilliant curtain raiser, to say the least.
Oh, absolutely, Owen, and that's exactly where the girls want to be, at a double header in Croke Park with the men's teams. It's unbelievable. It's definitely things that they dream of getting to do, to be honest, and now they're getting to do it, so that's brilliant. I suppose for Mayo, I sort of wondered where they were this year. I wasn't sure they were going to do much, to be honest. They didn't seem like they were on form, but their win against Galway last week, they had a 4-point win, and that's a massive rivalry there, so it was brilliant to see them get that. Sarah Rowe was back in form. She got 3 points. It was great to see that. And Sinead McCaffrey as well. She got 1 too. So, yeah, it was a brilliant game. But against the Dubs, they're coming up against the All-Ireland champions. They, just like the men's team, they know how to win. Even when they go down, they know exactly how to stay calm and come back and get over the line. And I don't think this will be any different. I think it's a tough task for Mayo. I really do, but a massive occasion for them, and yeah, brilliant to see it in Croke Park.
I want to chat about the other side of the draw, because you reckon this could be a Mayo or Dublin versus Meath final.
Yes, that's it, Owen. I think this is massive. Like, for Meath to be in an All-Ireland semi-final is just incredible in their first year in senior. It's just madness. And they came up against Armagh last week, and I think Armagh were heavily tipped favourites going in. Meath were loving that. They were loving that they were underdogs, and yeah, they came out on top there. And just the way Andy was speaking there on matchups, that was a big thing in this game. We seen who was going to pick up Amy Mackin was a big question. I did a podcast a few days before. That was the main question everyone wants to know, even amongst friends and like our club mates. That's what we were asking. And I actually have a club mate, Katie New, on the team, and we were talking the 2 days before, and I asked her who's going to pick her up, and she wasn't giving much away, and she actually ended up picking her up, so she kept it quiet, and she did some job on her as well. But look, Amy still got 1-6 in the end. I think what it came down to in that game was, they really pushed Armagh out to take their long range shots, and we seen Amy's well able to do that, so she kept them ticking away, but it just wasn't enough. She seemed to be their only really outlet. And yeah, Meath got over the line, so they're going to be in an All-Ireland semi-final against Cork. They've met Cork before in the first round of the championship, and they lost by 2 points. Again, I think Meath would be delighted going in underdogs for that. They've improved somewhat since then. They've championship games under their belt. So I think this is going to be massive, and I do, if I was going to call it, I would say I would see a Meath Dublin final. And I know that's big to call it, but I genuinely think this is what we're going to see.
This is kind of like Nottingham Forest stuff coming up and then actually dominating the game immediately, the level of prediction, Aisling. But it's, as you said, the form line is there. Beating Armagh last week is not something that anybody would have seen, obviously, with the attacking talent that Armagh have. And then you've pointed to the 2-point defeat to Cork, so they're at the same level. And it is extraordinary that they are All-Ireland intermediate champions, and that is the level that they were at last year. And it's interesting, since we just come off the football pod, I may as well give Andy Moran credit for actually a really good shout that he had a few weeks ago, when the idea of championship structures was being spoken about. And the one kind of thing that really, I guess, sticks in the craw of a lot of people when it comes to the Tailteann Cup or any sort of junior competition in men's football is that, will people actually care about it? And Andy made the point that actually, if you look at the women's game, you look at someone like Meath last year and the celebrations when they won the intermediate championship, and we see it all the time with intermediate and junior level in the women's football. And then on top of that, we see the progression that a team like Meath have made this year. Something is going right in the way that competition is set up.
Absolutely. You need something to play for. You put a serious amount of effort and work in, and obviously to keep the talent coming through in each county as well. You need to see, a possibility, an end goal. And that's what you see with the women's game. You have that junior, intermediate, senior. And for me we were senior. I was actually on the team when we were graded to intermediate. And that was massive. And I remember being in that dressing room at the start of the year, and everyone was asking the question, and there was a lot of the girls were absolutely against it. We're a senior team. Why would we not want to play at senior level? And then you had the other side of the dressing room, which was saying, but look, girls, we're going out against Cork here and we're getting trashed. We're not even putting up a fight, and that's just being realistic about it. So you had that balance there in the dressing room, but overall everyone came together and said, what's best here for ladies football in Meath? And we said, yes, it is to regrade.
And was it an even split in the dressing room? Were there some hard conversations had around that debate?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of girls that didn't want to, a lot of girls see it as we're playing senior, we're at the top level, this is where we need to be, this is where we want to be. We play to play at the top level, and that's where they wanted to stay. But I think if you looked at the long-term goal, and they did in the end, they've seen that, look, if we look at the long-term goal here of wanting to win medals, wanting to win championships, this is what we need to do. And inevitably, look at what's happened. Like, they've really seen some serious growth, and the first few years of intermediate was so tough. The intermediate championship is no joke. It's very, very tough, and everybody says it's hard to get out of. So we had some tough years, but once we finally did, you seen the girls and you see what they're doing now, and they've gone on to win it, and now 1 year on they're in an All-Ireland semi. So as you said, Owen, it does work. That system works.
So, because it's a really interesting one, and I'm not sure what the answer is on a whole multitude of things, and on a whole different level of competition structure and all that. But so say, for example, if your Meath team hadn't been regraded and you stayed at senior level and competing for the All-Ireland, do you think you would still be as close to Dublin now as this current team is, or it is actually dropping down and letting Dublin push the boat out, letting them win as many All-Irelands as they want, and me dropping down and winning their intermediate All-Irelands? Is that actually the only way you can close that gap?
God, I don't know if it's the only way to close it, but I suppose talking from Meath and their experience in the last few years, I think those younger girls, like they were very successful with minor coming through, and they'd won All Irelands there, and you were always going to get those girls up, I suppose. But those girls seen that there was a change. They seen the Meath was starting to win games, because there was a point there on where we weren't winning any games. Like and that does have a knock-on effect. So, there's young girls seeing that and they go, sure, look, we'll concentrate on something else here. But we started to win games. I remember us winning our first Leinster, and that was massive in the county. And from then on, they went the next year, they got one step closer, and then they won the All-Ireland then. So, yeah, I do think that we wouldn't be at this stage unless we hadn't regraded, because we needed to put that groundwork in. We needed to go back to almost the start, to regroup, and there was new management in, and it was just a fresh start. And I do believe that the regrading was the best thing that Meath football could have done, and that's why we're seeing this growth. And they're going to be in an All-Ireland semi-final.
It'd be really, really interesting, and it's a fascinating case study, especially if they do manage to get the job done against Cork next week. On Dublin, do you think they're very much still the team to beat, and how far ahead of the pack do you think they are?
Yeah, they're definitely the team to beat. I think Mayo have a seriously tough task there to go up against them and to get over the line. I think Dublin are beatable though, sort of like the men. They're coming back to the pack. They're definitely back in the pack. And I don't think that they're unbeatable or unstoppable in any way. So I do think it's going to be an interesting year. I think it's wide open. I don't think they're clear favourites, and that's great. That's what you want to see in a senior championship. So yeah, I do think it's wide open. We've seen Carla Rowe last week as well. She's just immense, and just the type of football she's playing. So if everybody's on form, they are hard to stop. But I definitely think they're coming back to the pack, and they can be bet. And I do think that they can be stopped this year, and it just remains to be seen if they're in the final, who will be with them.
Absolutely, and we will preview those games with you, Aisling, next week properly, because it's going to be a great weekend of football in men's football and in women's football on Saturday and Sunday week.